So is Vaike better than Robin? I was checking out the monthly opinion thread on Reddit and I found this super interesting post that I would like to share with you and analyze a little bit. This person is arguing that Vaike is better than Robin. Now, everyone who is at least a little familiar with Awakening will immediately say no, of course not. This is Robin we're talking about, arguably the best unit in the series. They have everything a unit could want, but most importantly Veteran, which gives them insane XP gains, so they just snowball through the entire game. Everyone knows that just using Robin and Chrom and no one else is the easiest way to beat Awakening Lunatic. Well, everyone except this guy, but I think the comment section pointed it out to him. But this person makes a case for it, and my first instinct was to argue against that case. But my Awakening knowledge is not exactly great, so while I could theory mon some arguments against, I thought a way better way to do it would be to try it in practice, so I plan to do that on stream sometime, probably next Saturday. Do what exactly? Well, let's go through the post and see if this is an argument worth entertaining. I think this take may actually be too hot, but here we go. Within the context of Lunatic Awakening, and maybe Heart 2, but my math is based on Lunatic, Vaike is a better unit than Robin, provided you're playing on 0 renown. Now that's quite the opinion, so let me explain. Robin is not actually a fantastic unit at base. Notably, Robin has bad damage overall, due to the fact that neither their strength, or magic, or growth are particularly impressive, and both their early weapons are 3 might. They aren't terrible, and having access to 1-2 range clearly helps a lot, but it is notably lower. This, sure. I personally think this is not a big drawback to Robin because they are one of the only units you have, so you kind of just deal with it while it's a problem, and at some point it no longer is a problem because they become so strong that they won out anyway despite these issues. You also get better weapons later on, but, sure, at base he's not that good, he does need time to train. Without the water trick, Robin doesn't gain 7 free levels in the prologue, and that's the real way the analysis changes. You might argue we should do the water trick because it gives Robin more XP, but at no point in the game does the game demand that we do, and it takes 20 to 30 extra turns at minimum to complete versus just running up the map. If you took any other FE game and decided to grind for 30 turns for any other unit at any point, people would just accuse you of playing inefficiently and with extreme favoritism, and I think that's fair to do here as well. Robin should not be granted a massive amount of time to just grind to their heart's content for no reason. I actually think this is a good take. I was actually talking to Septi about Robin, particularly Robin against Sigurd and Seth, and Septi also doesn't think Robin is the best unit ever. She thinks that Seth and Sigurd are far better, and talking to them, because I thought Robin was better, and at the end of the discussion, I'm more like, maybe Seth and Sigurd are a little better, actually. So remember that top 15 video I did a while ago? There's a couple things in there that I would like to change, and this might be one of them. The point that Wellington Wearer makes here about the water trick, I think, is very good, if you're talking about how good is Robin as a unit, actually, because I do think the water trick is the way to go if you're just trying to get through Lunatic the most brain-dead, easy way possible, and I think the couple times that I have tried to get into Lunatic and inevitably abandoned it, it's definitely something that's easy to do and recommended to do just because you're worried that you might not get through the game if you don't do it. It's one of those things where you're not super familiar with the game, but you know this idea is good, and even though it's obviously very inefficient, you're going to do it. That said, if you're analyzing units based on their own merits and not just based on what you do within a single playthrough where you're setting your own rules, if you're actually talking efficiency, obviously the water trick is equivalent to basically boss abuse. That's basically what it is. It's the equivalent of having Amelia train in Chapter 9 Erica route or something by just slowly killing every archer there or something. It has no place in a unit discussion, so I think it's completely fair to assume that we're not doing the water trick. Should we assume that Robin gets some kills in Chapter 1 and 2 or in Prologue? Yeah, probably. I mean, they're one of the units on the field. Frederick could do everything, but he might not, and there's only 4 units, so it's only fair that Robin gets some kills, but I don't think it's fair to assume that he gets every single chip and kill. Plus, it just takes forever. So, I agree with that point, actually, and next time I'm playing this, which will hopefully be on stream, I will try not to do the water trick. But as you'll see, they have thought of this. Anyway, now with us leaving Robin a bit, I would argue this actually makes very much of the early game easier, as we don't have to focus on giving them kills, and instead can have Frederick do most of the work and have everyone else pick up the scraps. This is both faster in terms of turns and real time and a lot easier. So basically, we're wrecking everything with Frederick now, which to me seems like an improvement over having Frederick try to weaken things for other units, which, I mean, sometimes he just kills things in one round when you don't want him to, whereas having him kill things seems like a lot easier. I've actually soloed Awakening Lunatic mode with Frederick, and I found it pretty easy for the most part. So I can definitely see why this would make the game a lot easier at first. Of course, there are long-term reasons to train Robin, as we'll see. Like, obviously, Robin is better than Frederick long-term, but it's definitely easier to not have to train Robin early on. I don't think this can be argued. Chapter 1 especially is comedically easy with Frederick. Stick him on a fort with a crown pair-up and give him a bronze sword and watch him roll over the entire map. If you're worried about the hammer fighter, his hit rate is about 10% true hit, which is almost nothing. You can, if you want, play around that hit rate by cutting around the forest as well, but the ease of simply having Frederick go yippee-ki-yay is a big draw to this strategy. Chapter 2 I find to be much easier with a trained Frederick than a trained Robin. It's a different story in Lunatic Plus, but seriously, just try playing Chapter 2 with a Frederick with 1 strength over base or 1 speed over base. It makes a world of difference. And then there's some benchmarks you can hit that make it much easier for Frederick to wreck everything. Obviously, this isn't really arguing in favor of Vaike as much as it's arguing that Frederick is better than Robin, which they're going to acknowledge in a little bit. But since Vaike is not around, there's no drawback to this strategy. If we assume we're abandoning Robin training and just using Vaike, then this is all a perfectly valid argument, I think. Now, so far, this analysis has been about Robin versus Fred. But I'm not arguing Robin versus Fred, I'm arguing Robin versus Vaike. The only point I am making is that Robin is not entitled to early game XP, and it is in fact often better placed on Fred and Crom, saving turns and making the game easier. So let's talk about Vaike. Vaike has some very big strengths at base. Notably, he hits hard and he's bulky. 16 attack is what you would expect a level 16 Robin to have with the Thunder Tome and Sea Tomes. Sure, Robin can probably double with a Crown pair-up, but Robin also isn't hitting level 16 by Chapter 2. I don't know if this is a great way to argue this point. I'm sure that Vaike has more strength than Robin, and I'm sure Vaike has more bulk than Robin. But I don't know, level 16 Robin is not happening, so maybe a comparison between what Robin could reasonably be expected to be versus Vaike would be more valid here. Because from my experience playing Lunatic, and again, I probably did the water trick, but in Chapter 2 Robin is at a point where they could borderline double, and that especially enables some like dual strike strategies, where you can expect him to like one round something on turn 2 as long as you reset for a dual strike or something, which sounds very degenerate, but that's just what Awakening sometimes defaults into. So, and also, yeah, we don't have to feed Robin in the first 3 maps, Prologue, 1, and, well, yeah, the first 2 maps really, but now we have to feed Vaike, and I gotta question whether it's easier to feed Vaike or feed Robin, because 1 to range makes it a lot easier to feed someone kills. They don't take counterattacks if they don't kill something, and if they're actually killing something, then they have a lot more squares they can attack from, which could help them stay out of enemy range, for instance. I would personally, obviously, rather try to train Robin than Vaike, even in Chapter 2. I think that's the most important thing that's missing here is an analysis of that. I'm not saying it's impossible to train Vaike, I think this is where the issue comes in. Now, it sounds like I'm being ridiculous by defending Robin over Vaike. Obviously, most people would agree with me here, but I think it's important when we're doing Fire Emblem analysis that we do stay open to these kinds of challenges, even though this has been the status quo for ages. Like, yeah, obviously, this person is arguing up a massive hill of people who would disagree. I think they even were downvoted initially. No one actually responded to this besides me. They either didn't want to entertain it, or they didn't feel like any of the arguments, or they just didn't feel like it. But no one really challenged this in any way, so this is just me trying to find ways to challenge this. But what I was saying about status quo is, for the longest time, as the Fire Emblem community, we accepted universal truths, like don't use your Jagan bad, they steal XP. We didn't challenge other notions either that were like, I don't know, pre-promote's bad in general. No one liked, for example, Echidna, until someone did. People assumed you could just build supports in the GBA games in a ranked playthrough. People assumed everyone just played ranked, and that was the only valid way to rank characters. People assumed the archers from FE4 were actual good units when you're playing efficiently. Things like that are no longer accepted as true today. And for the same reason, I think it's important that we keep questioning that, because if your ideas are not open to questioning in any way, then you don't really, like, if they don't hold up in a good argument, then how good are those ideas really? It's good to challenge them. And if the ideas are as good as they say, they wouldn't hold up, so what are you afraid of? Anyway, let's move on. Equally as impressive is his 29 massive HP, allowing him to take any single hit in the game and putting him very close to surviving 2 or even 3 hits with the right pair-up on the right terrain. Yeah, sure, he's bulky. I do think him getting doubled is probably a problem, but they're going to bring that up now. Now, to be fair, I do have to bring up Vaike's speed. 6 speed is 1 point short of where he wants to be, causing soldiers to double him in Chapter 2, and soldiers and archers to double him in Chapter 3. A Cavalier pair-up will keep him safe for this map, allowing him to tank even 2 hits from the soldiers and not die, but that isn't good enough for Chapter 3 as the soldiers have 12 speed to his effective 7. He needs an extra point either from levels or from a pair-up like Crom or Sumia to not get doubled. Assuming that Vaike can get 1 measly level in Chapter 2, that gives him a 50-50 shot at getting his extra speed point. He needs to be safe with a +1 from a calf pair-up. With 2 levels, that chance goes up to 75% to 100%. Chance to survive the soldiers, even if he is doubled due to leveling. Even if he is doubled, oh, he's going to level 2 points of HP because his HP growth is over 100%. Yeah, that makes sense. I think these kind of benchmarks are useful to know. I do think if I try to train Vaike, it's going to be a massive problem. He can only survive 1 enemy. I don't remember what level Robin would be at, like what level of bulk Robin would have in exchange. Again, I mostly do Water Trick in early Lunatic, so the idea I have of Robin's durability might be too high. But again, Vaike only has 1 range, so in order for him to survive an enemy and then get to kill that enemy, you would probably have to jump through a couple hoops. I think what's going to happen probably is like Frederick is going to murder most of the map, and then Vaike will get a couple of scraps, and that's going to get him like if he gets 4 kills, then it's like a 1 level up on him. This analysis I think assumes 1 to 2 levels, which, you know, it seems like a lot for Chapter 2 alone, but we'll see. Anyway, we're getting a bit bogged down in benchmarks here, but the point I am making is that Vaike's early speed is not good, but it also is not a death sentence, and that its other advantages over Robin, such as his sky-high attack and massive bulk, allow him to do a lot more than Robin when you consider that Robin does not get lots of free early game XP. And yes, this post takes up multiple Reddit posts. Part 2. Turns out we'll need Part 3 in a bit, so hooray. Chapter 3 is not a complicated map anyway, so you can kind of use whoever you want and do well with them, but something else important happens in this map. The hammer drops. This brings Vaike's already good attack up by 3 more points. Even a base level of Vaike is looking at 19 attack, enough to 2-shot most enemies with a calf pair-up and 1-shot armor knights, including the boss, Raimi. If I recall, Chapter 3 is the chapter where you're at the fort, you start at the bottom of it, and you have to work your way up. I found that map kind of tricky, personally, but it's probably not as hard as Chapter 2, so fair enough. You can probably have Fred do like most of one side, and everyone else works on the other. I think it's a bit of a tricky map, but you can probably train Vaike if you really want to. I don't think it's super hard to give someone kill favoritism in Awakening like that, even if the map is difficult, because someone's going to have to get the last hit, and if we're not planning on using anyone else long term, like the way I would treat this is Vaike does most of the work in the entire playthrough, which is kind of what they're arguing anyways, like Vaike does it instead of Robin, and that's the best, easiest way to play Awakening anyway. Maybe you like throw in someone else later, but like someone who's easier to raise later on, but this is the impression I'm getting, is Vaike is going to do all the work. The end of Chapter 4 gives Vaike his next power spike in Longku. They have a fast support together, allowing them to reach C support in 1 map, meaning that if the player finishes Chapter 4, then does Paralogue 1 with Vaike and Longku will now provide a massive +6 to Vaike's speed on pair-up. Sounds like a good amount. I have no idea if this reaches any benchmarks or not, but they're going to get into that. Now, depending on how you play the game, can really change things up here. If Vaike manages to hit 10 speed before the end of Paralogue 1, the discussion basically ends because Longku will allow him to double and one-shot almost every enemy on the map with a hammer. The exceptions are Merms and the boss. I'm pretty sure this is about Chapter 5. So the hammer, for one, I think it has 25 uses in this game, so I don't know how viable it is to use it against literally everything. I also question whether Vaike is going to be accurate to do this, because the hammer is probably not the most accurate weapon. Let me just check the Awakening Hammer stats real quick. Yeah, it has 60 base hits, so gonna have to assume that this is not going to accurately hit everything. I think accuracy is going to be an advantage that this person overlooks when it comes to Vaike versus Robin. I don't doubt that eventually Vaike will be accurate enough to where it doesn't matter. Like, I recall his skill is quite good in long term. You have to pair up with Longku. It'll be fine eventually, but for now, I think him just saying he's going to one-shot everything on the map with a hammer is going to be a potential issue, besides the fact that it has 25 uses. That's, if you one-shot everything on the map here, it's going to break right here. Maybe after that you can use like a Forged Iron Axe or something to kill everything, but that's like one thing I can see. I wonder if he really has enough attack to kill Wyverns as well. That sounds like a very high benchmark, so I'm curious to see if he's going to do that. Again, maybe he does, I don't know, but that's like the first thing that comes to mind for me. The Merms, there's quite a few of those. The boss, obviously a big issue. I don't remember if this boss is 1-2 range or not. It seems like another bit of a problem. This is one of the 2 chapters, Chapter 5, where Robin has their big advantage over Vaike, as a Forged Wind Tome can let him take out Wyverns easily, potentially even in a single hit. But if Vaike is one-shot killing them anyway, it doesn't even matter, and the advantage of his considerable bulk lead is a much bigger deal. Okay, so apparently he is one-shotting Wyverns. Now, I did say if Vaike reaches 10 speed, because that's a pretty big if. Vaike averages 10 speed at level 11, and this gives him around a 67% chance of having this much speed or more. You can get him there if you're trying or if you're just lucky, but it does take effort. I don't think it's fair to say that he's always going to get there, especially when sometimes he's going to get RNG screwed and miss the double threshold for this map. So we'll give this as a win to Robin, even if a slower Vaike is still capable of contributing with a Kellen pair up. Okay, sir. So I think this is one sign of a reasonably objective analysis, is if they're at least trying to acknowledge the flaws that Vaike has, such as the fact that if he misses the 10 speed benchmarks, he loses out on doubling, I think, pretty much every enemy map in the game. Sometimes when people are arguing for units very passionately, they'll like brush over or even ignore a unit's flaws entirely. But since this one acknowledges it, I think that's a sign for the good. There could still be other flaws that they're ignoring, but just wanted to let everyone know that. Luckily for Vaike, enemy speed does not tend to increase that fast in this game. So while he might be worse in Chapter 5 if he misses 10 speed, he can always try to reach it for Chapter 6, where 10 speed plus Lonku C lets him double and kill everything, but Valdar and the Thieves. Even if he misses here, he still doubles the fighters and mages, and he can put in the work with the hand axe gained from Chapter 5, although he won't 1-hit KO without a dual strike due to his bad might. It's also notable that I don't think this is factoring in tonics yet. I forgot when you get the speed tonics in these games, but eventually you'll get those, and then missing a benchmark by 2 speed literally doesn't matter because he's patched up with a tonic. And if we're doing everything with Vaike, then honestly I believe he's entitled to having a speed tonic for him in every chapter where it makes a difference. And the same goes for other stats too. I do think that Robin has an advantage, an offensive advantage, if Vaike cannot double the Cavaliers by Chapter 6, but it's not like he does terribly against them anyway. Remember that Robin still needs a plus speed pair up to double them, and that a Vaike without enough speed can always take Kellen for a durability boost or something like Sea Sully if that's not available. The Cavs in this map have 24 attack with their steel lances, but Vaike cuts that to 21 with triangle advantage. Assuming a very low level Vaike for this time, level 7, we can see he averages 33 HP and 7 defense, 9 with a tonic, 12 with Sea Sully, and 14 with Kellen. And even this very underinvested Vaike is 4-hit KO'd with a Sully pair up and a tonic, and with Kellen he's actually 5-hit KO'd. So he survives, is the point they're making. With a much more reasonable amount of investment to level 11, Vaike can average 37 HP and 9 defense, 11 with the tonic, 14 with Sea Sully, and 16 with Kellen. He's now getting 6-hit KO by the Cavs with Sully, or 8-hit KO by Kellen. His bulk is, to be frank, fucking ridiculous. So he's going to be fine to take a few hits. Okay, more benchmarks, and I'm curious to see if this is going to be matched, because it's possible the Vaike I will be raising will have different stats, very likely in fact, and that might make it look more or less favorable. But it looks like they're using average stats for the most part, which means at least they're not trying to make it look better than it is, like trying to be like, oh, my Vaike was getting like 2 shots, so he's fine. No, they're just using stats that Vaike can be expected to have reasonably. There's a good chance that if you're trying the strategies, then your Vaike is going to deviate in some way, and sometimes having one more or less defense can be the difference between life and death, and it's good to keep that into mind. By Chapter 7, Vaike really should have hit 10 speed, which is good because the Wyverns are still stuck at 11 speed, allowing him to double with Sea Lonku and kill them. However, I will say that this is the second map where Robin has a significant advantage over Vaike, as they can use the Forged Elwind to 1-hit KO the Wyverns, allowing them to use a defensive pair-up while Vaike is stuck using speed. However, and this is a big however, Frederick can also go vroom with a Crown backpack on this map and wipe almost the entire thing in 3 or 4 turns. Do you think this is easier with a Frederick who's had a bit of XP put into him, or one who had to share with Robin? More importantly, this erases a big lead that Robin has over Vaike, as both of them are able to deal with the 1 or 2 enemies that come past Frederick with ease. I think it's fair to bring up that Frederick can do it if your Vaike cannot. However, the fact that Frederick can do it doesn't really say a whole lot in favor of Vaike. It just means it's a less big deal that Vaike potentially cannot do this map. But if Vaike is not able to fight in this map, or fight significantly like Frederick, then he's going to miss out on a bunch of XP that might impact the way that you analyze the future chapters. If we're going to assume that he has hit level 11 or whatever, then he might have to stick at level 11 for the rest of the analysis, because it's possible Vaike's not going to be able to go burr on this map. Again, we'll see. I do wonder how easy this is for Frederick as well. Obviously, because we've trained Frederick in the early game instead of Robin, it's more likely that we'll hit the benchmarks for this with Frederick, but I don't know what those benchmarks are. Now, Chapter 8 is the big turning point for this whole debate, because while Robin and Vaike were winning over each other in small ways in the past, this is the map that really strikes the difference between them. The map itself is nothing special, but you get a Master Seal halfway through. People might be thinking about the second seal, about how Robin can reclass the Dark Mage and Nosferatu go burr, but there is a limitation to that. Robin will not gain many stats from second sealing, and Nosferatu is not buyable until after chapter 13, a long ass way from now. And while Grandmaster is a decent class that's going to make Robin strong, it is not going to be anywhere near as strong as what Vaike gets. Vaike's promotion to hero is so mind-numbingly broken that it ends the game pretty much on the spot for any difficulty below Lunatic Plus as soon as you do it. Plus 6 skill, plus 5 speed, plus 4 defense, plus 3 resistance, and plus 2 HP. Remember that you can buy speed tonics at the end of this map, effectively granting Vaike a huge plus 7 to his speed. Okay, so this is when a speed tonic's good, and it's good that it's mentioned here. So, you know, sounds pretty good. Promotion bonus to hero. I'm always a bit loath to promote someone who is not, like, at least level 15 or something in this game. Because I'd be a little scared of promoting them too early, especially if someone is going to like solo the entire game. So I wonder if this is going to impact his long term. I think they've thought this out, and it doesn't matter, but that's like one thing I'm thinking about. Of course, in Awakening, you can always like second seal back, of course. So maybe I shouldn't be worrying about it. Anyway, it looks like a good promo bonus. I don't know if it's enough for the Lunatic or Lunatic Plus enemies, but we'll see. I'm assuming Lunatic for all this, by the way, and they are assuming Lunatic too. This promotion patches up all of his weaknesses and turns him into a ridiculous stat ball that can just run into all the maps and kill everyone. He now has the ability to unshackle himself from need for a speed pair up, and can just take one for bulk, such as Kellum or C Sully if he's needing a little bit of speed to get over the benchmark. 15-1, okay, we're assuming level 15 Vaike. Level 15-1 Vaike with a speed tonic has 19 speed on average. That means for most of the time he's going to be doubling every single enemy in chapter 9 without a pair up. Sure, I'll just take their word for it. I'm assuming no enemy has over 14 speed. Maybe the mercs do. I think there's some mercs. With Kellum and plus defense, he averages a hilarious 22 defense, which makes the Silverland soldiers do 4 fucking damage to him. 4. Bear in mind, this guy has almost 44 HP, so these noobs are literally 11 hit killing him. Even the powerful strength plus 2 wyverns can only hit for 8 damage, only getting a 6 hit kill against them. Sure, the mages might be a bit annoying, but there's only 2 of them, and the physical enemies do no damage to him anyway, and there's even a fort he can stand on for 20 avoid and 2 flat defense and res. And should you discover the dark art of promoting in chapter 8, then doing paralog 2 and 3 right after level... I'm assuming this is level 5 soul. You can hand the 3DS to a random person on the street and watch him blow through the entire game. 15-5 Vaike with skill tonic averages 25 skill, giving me a 1 in 4 chance to proc soul on every single attack you can think of. Or you can think of it as a 44% chance per enemy, providing he doubles. If you want to absolutely murder everything in the game, even the bulkiest and fastest enemies, just slap Pan on Vaike and watch his strength, skill, speed pair up, turn him into a murder machine that lasts the entire mid-game and crush everything. Part 3 gets into Robin a bit more. What's Robin doing at this point? The second seal to Dark Mage is still looking good with its 0 stat gains. Thinking of going Grandmaster? Nothing matches the sheer power of mid-game Vaike. I generally don't know what to write past this point other than Vaike kills everything and doesn't die lol. Basically, the only time things start looking different is much closer to the end of the game, around chapter 17. This is where Vaike's low res starts to become more noticeable, as more mages get involved and their attack power is higher. He can probably survive with soul, but it's not as consistent. The solution to this is simple. Slap a Falcon Knight on him for the huge plus res bonus, ideal Alyssa if she gets both. And the plus 7 speed will help him continue to double anything he is now falling behind, such as speedy Valkyries or heroes. Combine that with a pure water and a res tonic, and he's good to go for most of the rest of the maps in the game. So basically, he just says the only worry you have is mages, everything else is going to die. I don't know if this assumes he's using a hand axe to fight like archers, or if he's actually just using stronger weapons. So that's something I'm going to have to see, like, can he actually one out at 2 range? Because that's the competition he faces, is a character like Robin who kills everything at 1-2 range. Potentially with Nosferatu, because we're past chapter 13, so you now have the option to use Nosferatu and tank everything. But apparently Soul is good enough. I don't know if it is. The other thing with Soul I think that we should be mindful of is, yeah, it has a 44% chance to proc in combat, at least once out of 2 times, but when it procs can be relevant. Like, if you're nearly killing the enemy in 1 hit, and then you hit him on the second hit getting a soul proc doesn't really do a whole lot, whereas if you have Nosferatu, both hits are going to heal you. So that can be a potential reason for him to die, but I'm assuming they've tried this, and I'm assuming that the HP lead that Vaike has is going to keep him safe. But again, this is all stuff I want to try out. There is one final exception, and that being chapter 21. The reason chapter 21 is different is because you cannot one-turn it easily, and you cannot easily protect Crom. This means you have to walk Vaike and Crom down the level. I'm going to real quick check that this is actually the chapter I'm thinking of. I'm assuming this is the Grima chapter, or not the Grima chapter, the Valadar chapter. Oh, this is the one where you're escaping, basically. Escaping from the palace. You're getting hit by Mire mages over and over. Okay, apparently this matters. This means you have to walk Vaike and Crom down the level. This is not terrible, but this is a point where Robin outshines Vaike, as his walk down in Sorcerer is very easy, while Vaike can potentially struggle if a bunch of mages get lucky against him. I find a somewhat elegant solution is to forge a few extra points of might onto the hand axe, or save a short axe for this map so he can one out the Sorcerer he fights. Or the sorcerers he fights, meaning he does not have to deal with Hex and Anathema cutting into his avoid and the mages blocking his way. This is an advantage for Robin, and I'd be remiss not to mention it, but provided you know it's coming and you prepare for it, I would see it as a speed bump rather than an impossible hurdle. You've got chapters and chapters and chapters to figure out how you want to do this, whether it be collecting Talisman from Paralogs to fix Vaike's res, triggering an army of staff bots that can actually one-turn a map, getting Vaike to Axe Fair so you can one-round KO the Dark Mages, prepping a good hand axe, training Crom, or just have to reset once or twice for better soul RNG. It's hard for me to think of this map as like a massive problem generally, because I didn't have a lot of trouble in my last playthrough. Granted, I was actually using a full team that was trained there on hard mode, so I do wonder what the big difference is. I remember the sorcerer reinforcements from the sides were like too late to do a whole lot, and assuming you want everything in your way, I can't see you getting held up by those a whole lot, but I can see an unlucky Vaike dying here because there's just too many magical enemies that can murder him, and apparently he's not likely to one round with a normal hand axe with the strength that he's likely to get. But again, there's a bunch of solutions that I think if I just try one and it works, then I think it's fine. Again, I'm assuming Vaike is going to do almost everything once he has snowballed. Like, why train additional combat units instead of just, using Vaike for everything? So if he has the ability to do this with like a res pair up and maybe a pure water and a tonic, then like who cares? And the rest of the game continues to be Rain Dead. 22 you one turn, 23 you press enter and win, 24 stand on the fort and press enter and win, and 25 you one turn. Pretty sure one of these maps is the maps where you fight a Valadar twice, and that's always the map where you're not soloing with Robin or Crom gets a bit complicated because you have to deal with Basilio and what's her name, Flavia on the field, and Crom and Robin are both there. Probably if you have Vaike with a set para partner, trying to wreck everything down while you wait for Valadar to die, then you're probably good. I guess you don't have to convoy there, which could be a bit annoying, because you do eventually run out of weapons if you just do everything down there. And it is a route map. Yeah, everything else I'm sure you can indeed kill. We'll get into Grima now, which I found a very interesting paragraph. Grima is an interesting one because Vaike's Grima kill is, in my opinion, far better than Robin's. Sure, Robin might look decent in the Sorcerer class with the Nosferatu Tome, but it is not going to help them against Grima. Grima has very high res, and Waste has very low might, making Robin do pitiful damage and rely on Crom dual strikes, which is very bad if Crom is not trained. Meanwhile, Giga Vaike has the potential to kill Grima in a single turn without any dual strikes. By reclassing to a warrior in the mid-game and then bowing his way up to C bows, you can then drop the Prologue 4 and Chapter 15 arm scrolls on him to get A bows and unlock the Brave Bow. I'm fine with the arm scrolls if we're only using Vaike for combat. Like, whatever. Give the resources to the only units you're using, why not? I question whether bowing his way up to C bows is easy to do in a character that's doing all the work. If I look at Vaike in a warrior real quick. Okay, I can't find real quick whether he gets E or D bows. E to D bows seems like a bit of a pain, but again, we'll find out if we try. I'll definitely try to get bows in whenever you can, but my findings with like soloing Awakening is that you don't have a lot of time to equip a 2-range weapon. That might be a bit annoying. And after that, yeah, you use the arm scrolls to get to A bows if you get there. A +5 Might Forge strength with a strength rally from Basilio, a speed rally from a Falcon Knight, a strength and speed tonic, and an 8 support pair from Pan. Lets Vaike do just enough damage to kill Lunatic Mode Grima in 8 hits, allowing him to attack for 4 with the Brave Bow and then have Olivia dance to finish him off. Seems like a funny kill to try. I believe that bows bypass all the minus damage skills that enemies can have. Pavis and Aegis, I think they're called. That's one reason why people like those for Lunatic and Lunatic Plus. So I'm assuming that's why he needs the bows specifically, instead of just using like the Brave Axe. I'm glad I read this now, that I might need a rally speed. Because imagine getting to this point and not having trained a rally speed Falcon Knight. So I probably have to get my hands on those. Either that or just hope he's fast enough, but I'm assuming he can reach that benchmark with a rally speed somewhat reliably at least. I didn't see any math on that. It would be very awkward if you made it to this point and he couldn't kill Grima, but you probably wouldn't still be much better off with Robin. I have tried kill Grima with like Lunatic Mode Grima is like ridiculous. I've tried doing it with Frederick. You need like a bunch of dual strikes from Crom, like a bunch of them to even remotely get through. What a massive pain that was. So yeah, I think prepping Vaike for that is going to be very important. And hopefully it's not too much of a pain. We'll see how much bow rank he gets from going to warrior. I'm sure someone will post in the comments. Anyway, that is why Vaike is potentially better than Robin. I still don't believe it, or rather, I think I'd have to see it to believe it. But I think this kind of analysis is fascinating, and for anyone who's scoffing at the notions, it's like, oh, this person forgot about this or forgot about that. They didn't mention this or they mentioned that. It's just a Reddit post, bro. Like they're not obligated to make the case in the most excruciating detail that they have to. This is just an opinion they have posted in the opinion thread. If you have a different opinion, that's what my comment section is for. But this is why Vaike supposedly is better than Robin. We'll see if it holds true. We'll see. I'll see you all on Saturday when I'm planning to stream this. See you around.